Hey everybody, I wanted to make this video talking about my John Coltrane record collection. I just started collecting John Coltrane and getting into his work probably about maybe like a year or two ago, and then within the last 6 months I've really been getting into his stuff a lot more and trying to educate myself on just his history and all the different steps his career took, and they were all very just insane. He was such an innovator and just an amazing musician, and I'm sure a lot of you know, even if you don't know about jazz, John Coltrane was just such an influence on just music in general. A lot of rock musicians, a lot of obviously jazz musicians, and just musicians in general, just so influenced by John Coltrane. So, that's my phone buzzing, but don't worry. Anyway, I started collecting his albums. Actually, a friend of mine gave me the first John Coltrane record I ever had, and it's probably his most well-known, A Love Supreme. This was given to me by my friend who owns the record store that I go to a lot. And this is a mono copy, and it's an original mono copy, and it's one of my prized possessions. It sounds really, really good. This is the record I put on if I'm trying to impress somebody who maybe isn't into records or doesn't think that records can sound great for whatever reason, right? I'll put this on. I also have a copy of the Dave Brubeck Time Out record, which is another one that I put on to kind of dazzle people and show the power of my system or whatever. But this album, A Love Supreme, just musically is just, it was a revelation for me. I know it was, and it is for a lot of musicians and just music lovers in general. It's such a great record. But anyway, this is my first exposure to John Coltrane. But let's now show you my whole collection that I have so far. I don't have all of his albums, but I have quite a few. First things first, I got this one. This is Thorniest Monk with John Coltrane. And this is on, and I have a couple of these from this this company. This is on the label Wax Time, and this is a direct metal mastering, so it says back on here, DMM, and it sounds very good. And it's these Wax Time records are really, really inexpensive, which is awesome. You can get them totally brand new in the shrink. I think I got this one for $8 on Discogs. There's the back. And I will show you the label of this one, but I won't show you the rest of the Wax Time ones just because they all look pretty much the same. So this is side B, but side A and B look the exact same. And for the money, these sound great. And when it comes to John Coltrane, finding the original pressings of his records, A, it's really hard to find them clean, and B, if you do find them clean, they are so expensive. So if you have an original, hold on to it. If you find one for a good price that's clean, buy it right away. But if you just want to start listening to his music and get into him, I recommend these Wax Time pressings because they sound great to me and they're really, really cheap. So anyway, this is Thorniest Monk with John Coltrane. By the way, I've also been getting into Thorniest Monk a whole lot, and I might make a video of some of his records I've been collecting as well. But for now, let's stick to Coltrane. So that's the first one, and I do like this record a whole lot. I'm trying to think of, it's hard for me to remember. A lot of times with jazz, I don't know the song titles. I don't remember them all that well, but I just know I did like this record very, very much. Maybe further down the line, I'll give more in-depth reviews of each album. But for now, just showing you what I got here. Okay, and next record, this is a classic. This is Standard Coltrane. And this is originally on the Prestige label, as you can see right there. But this is actually an OJC, which stands for Original Jazz Classics, I believe is what it stands for. This is a reissue, of course, but they reproduced the original Prestige label, which is pretty cool. And these are also really cheap. These are even cheaper than the Wax Time pressings. I think I got this one for $4, and I think shipping was $4 as well. So $8 total for a brand new in the shrink Coltrane record. And this Coltrane record is amazing. This is definitely his early period, but he starts to show signs of getting out there, and it's just so fantastic. And it's called Standard Coltrane because he's doing standards, obviously. And the band on here, I have to say, is fantastic. You have Red Garland on piano, Paul Chambers on bass. Paul Chambers has become one of my favorite upright bass players. He plays on tons and tons of jazz records, classic jazz records, and he's on here, and he's just really, really good. He plays with Coltrane a lot, and this is just a really, really, really great record. So Standard Coltrane, I highly recommend, and you can get it, like I said, for very, very, very low price. By the way, as I'm doing this, I'm a total novice when it comes to jazz and John Coltrane. So for those of you jazz experts out there, please in the comments let me know if I'm explaining something incorrectly, or you think I should find a different pressing of this record that you think sounds a lot better. Please let me know. I'm totally open to gaining some more knowledge when it comes to Coltrane and jazz in general. So I'm all about it. Okay, this is the most recent one I just bought, and this is again on the Wax Time record label. This is John Coltrane and Kenny Burrell. Burrell, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, I think I am. And this is really great as well. I just listened to this this morning, and it's just fantastic. I think the thing that struck me about this record is that Coltrane almost sounds like he's just more of a secondary player on this record, even though his name is first on here. It's really more about Kenny Burrell on this, and who is just fantastic. He really shines through on this record. It sounds excellent. Coltrane sounds great as well, but the band in general is just really, really, really good. And it's, again, you have Paul Chambers on bass, Jimmy Cobb on drums. Jimmy Cobb, I don't have to mention, he's also on Standard Coltrane. I think Chambers and Cobb tended to be the main rhythm section for Coltrane. I could be wrong, but I think I tend to see their names a lot on these albums. Yeah, but just a really, really cool record. And there's a picture of them on the back there. And again, I think I got this for like $10, so fantastic price for a classic jazz record. Next up, this one, really, really, really just, I love it so much. And this is probably, after A Love Supreme, this is probably his most classic jazz album. This is Giant Steps. This is the one, and again, if I'm giving any wrong information, please let me know, but this is from just the short amount of time the knowledge I've gained. But this is the record that really changed a lot of opened up people's minds about Coltrane, because he starts to get a little bit out there, and he starts to do the Coltrane chord changes, which that's a little technical, but he would basically just take a chord change and kind of like change the order of that chord change that you're used to and mix it around. And in doing that, he just kind of created his own musical imprint. And this is the album where that started happening, and it's just such a fantastic record. And again, this is let's see, this is obviously a repress, and this is on the Atlantic label, and of course they reproduced the original green label very nicely. I think that's a really cool looking label. Again, this is another one that was really cheap to pick up. I don't remember how much I got it for, but it doesn't really matter. You can get all these for a good price, like I was saying. And this is just such a cool record. The song Giant Steps is an absolute standard at this point. I love the song. Countdown is great. The whole record, all the songs are written by John Coltrane. And it's just, like I said, really, really cool. Again, Paul Chambers on bass, sorry. And then it has Art Taylor on drums, and also Jimmy Cobb alternating on some tracks as well. So just a classic record. If you haven't heard it, I recommend it highly. My chair's real squeaky today, so excuse the squeakiness. Okay, next up, this is Duke Ellington and John Coltrane. This one, another great record, classic jazz album. It's got some songs on here that Coltrane does some really interesting, I would call them licks, I guess, because I'm a guitar player, so I call things licks, but just lines, where he plays a line one way, and then the next he repeats that line, but does it like a little bit crazier. It's hard to explain. But on this record, it really comes out that he's playing all these kind of standard Duke Ellington songs, but making them his own, and it's really cool. Again, this is a wax time pressing, and this is also another direct metal mastering record. There's the back. And I forgot to mention, with all these wax time pressings, you get one bonus track on every single one. So to me, they're not bonus tracks because I don't really know what the original album was supposed to be like. So to me, they're just part of the album, but it's cool that you get an extra song. And maybe I'll show this one. Why not? It's actually a little bit different than the other wax time labels, but pretty standard label there. Oh, these are also, I forgot to mention, they are 180 gram, so they got a good weight to them. Oh, and I stuck the original hype sticker on this bag here just because, I guess. So anyway, this was Duke Ellington and John Coltrane. I will say this is the only one that has happened to, but I got this brand new in the shrink, and track one had like a major pressing flaw where it had like a mark on it, so it skips like the first 3 seconds of the first song on side one, that's like, I'm sure all of you can relate to this. When you're opening up a brand new record, you put it on your turntable, you give it one just clean with your static free brush, just to make sure. You put it down on there, and within the first 5 seconds you hear a skip. It's like heartbreaking. You're like, well, this is brand new, this should be perfect. But it's not always that way, right? So anyway, that's kind of a drag. But I got this for a really cheap price, so I can't complain too much. So still a great record, and all the other tracks play fine, so gotta live with it. Okay, this is my favorite John Coltrane album, and it's probably, to a lot of you classic jazz guys who know about Coltrane's whole output, maybe you'll be like, wow, that's a weird one to choose. But this one really just blew me away, and this is the one that got me just obsessed with Coltrane. This just came out this year. This is John Coltrane, Both Directions at Once, the Lost Album. And like the title says, this was recorded in, I think, 1962 or 1960, early 60s definitely. It was recorded in New Jersey for Impulse, the record label Impulse, and they just spent a day recording all these songs for this new album, and then for some reason Coltrane didn't like it, or someone at the label didn't really care that much about it, and they put it on the shelf. But I guess Coltrane would always receive a mono, just rough mix of whatever they just did, just for his own private collection. So he had this mono reel, which was in good quality, and kept it. Flash forward to, I don't know, maybe the late 70s, early 80s, when Impulse, for some reason, threw away or got rid of all of their original master tapes. Why would you do that? I don't know, but they did. And in doing so, they got rid of the actual master tapes of this album and many more classic jazz albums. Some stuff that we'll never know what it was. I'm sure it's some amazing stuff. They got rid of them, destroyed them. I don't know what they did with them, but they're gone. So then flash forward to, I think, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, there was an article where Coltrane's family discovered some of these reels in his collection, or maybe his wife's collection or something like that, and they discovered this album and just the mono safety reel or whatever, just the mono rough mix they made for Coltrane to listen to for his collection. And that's where this comes from. It sounds excellent. It's in mono, but it just sounds great. It's very close as far as audio quality to A Love Supreme, in my opinion, which is also on Impulse. Just, there's so much depth to it. It almost doesn't sound like it's a mono recording because it's just so fantastic. You feel like you're in the room, which is hard. I know it's hard to imagine because normally for that feel like you're in the room sound, it has to be stereo, right? But there are some mono recordings that are just so well recorded and have so much depth that it does feel like you're in the room with them. And this is one of those albums. This is the deluxe edition where it comes with 2 records, and I'll show the records because they're actually really cool. The packaging in this is really awesome. It's a gatefold, so you open it up, and it's cool because the inner sleeve comes out, and you get like a little poster booklet here. And there's the first inner sleeve with a great picture of Coltrane. Another fantastic shot of John Coltrane. And then here is what the record looks like. They reproduced the Impulse label, which I think is a really cool label. So that's record 1. And then record 2 looks the exact same, by the way, so I don't think I'll show it. But you do get a really cool poster showing, I don't know if it's this actual session. There is the drummer, and I believe that's Paul Chambers. I could be wrong. Let me see the lists on here. Nope, it's Elvin Jones, who's also fantastic. And then on bass is Jimmy Garrison and McCoy Tyner on piano. I'm probably saying his name wrong, and I apologize. But very, very cool poster. And on the back of the poster, a really cool write-up on the sessions. A lot of cool pictures and how the tapes were discovered and remastered and all that kind of stuff. So this album, Both Directions at Once, really, really got me into John Coltrane, and I think a lot of it had to do with the mystique of the idea that this was like a lost album. I've always been fascinated by those kind of records, like Beach Boys' Smile, what else? You know, a bunch of other, like Neil Young's Chrome Dreams and Homegrown albums that he didn't release. Those kind of unreleased albums always fascinate me, and this record is just one of my favorite records. I listen to it so much. My girlfriend is so sick of me listening to this. She loves Coltrane as well, but well, maybe she's not. She hasn't said she's sick of it, but I feel like she's sick of it. I just love it so much. So if you haven't heard this, I recommend it so much. John Coltrane, Both Directions at Once, the Lost album, very, very good. Okay, and I talked about this one earlier. This is the first Coltrane album I ever owned, and I do love it so much. A Love Supreme. It's just an absolute classic jazz album. It might be the best jazz album ever made. That's Mr. Novice here speaking, but from just my experience, just as far as the impact, and just everywhere, anytime I read about just even rock and roll records, a lot of times musicians will cite this album. I was just watching a Derek Trucks. Derek Trucks is an amazing guitar player in his own right, blues rock guitarist. Played with the Allman Brothers. Now he's in Tedeschi Trucks, which is a band with his wife, which is also great. I was watching an interview with him, and he was talking about A Love Supreme and just how just fantastic it is. So it's just a really, really great record. And it's got a cool gatefold here. It opens up this way. Cool drawing of John Coltrane. And I'll show you the label, or the actual record, I mean. There it is, side A. And this is an original, it's an original mono pressing, which I can't believe I own it, but I do, and it sounds great, and I'm very happy to have it. I will say the music on here is a little bit out there, maybe a lot bit out there, but it is fantastic. Moving on, this is the last Coltrane record that I own. Speaking of out there, this is his very avant-garde period. he was really influenced by like Ornette Coleman, and just kind of like this is the free jazz stuff that he did. And I have to admit, I haven't really gotten into that part of his career yet. It's hard for me to really embrace it. I got this record for a really good price. They're having a big sale at one of the record stores around here, so I picked it up. It's original pressing on Impulse, and it's a stereo. And this is a Kulu Se Mama. I think I'm saying that right. And it's very, very out there. The very first song takes up all of side one. I'll show you the inside here. And it's got a guy playing rhythm and a guy like reciting a poem over the free jazz or whatever you want to call it. There's side two. And like I said, it's hard for me to get into, but I'm going to try some more, give it a chance. And if I end up just not enjoying it too much, I am going to probably sell this one or maybe pass it along to someone who would enjoy it. But for now, I have it, and hopefully I'll try to get into it a little bit more. Anyway, that is my John Coltrane collection, at least what I have for now. And I would love for anyone else to recommend any other of his albums to me, because I would love to definitely pick up some more. So if there's one I don't have that you think I just need to have that's an essential record, please let me know, and I will pick it up. So that's it for now, and yeah, John Coltrane. I'm very much into him right now, so send me all your recommendations. I need lots more. All right. Bye for now.